Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at the game Chernobylite for the Xbox Series X and S. This is going to be based off my time on the Series S. Game's also available on the PS5, the PS4, the Xbox One, and PC via Steam. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Chernobylite is rated M for mature audiences only, ages 17 and up by the ESRB rating system. The idea of a video game based off of the infamous Chernobyl disaster back during the 80s though is sort of odd in sort of a way though. But then again, we've had games based off of actual events like World War II and so forth. So it was kind of interesting to hear about this game to a certain extent. In fact, I would say what caught my interest on the idea of a video game based around Chernobyl in general was when in 2021 when it was announced that Stalker 2 was shown during the Xbox gameplay showcase though. Now, granted, that game, though still in development, the development team, is in a very tough spot, mostly due to the fact that the company that makes the series is in Ukraine, and given with the war between Russia and Ukraine and some of the folks serving in defending their country, it kind of threw a lot of things in the loop. So it was kind of interesting when I heard about this game known as Chernobylite, when I read about it getting a next gen patch though, and my curiosity of the game kind of caught my attention. At the time I didn't really pick it up until a sale popped up on the Microsoft Store that I decided, you know what, I'll try the game out on my Xbox Series S though. And after spending some time with the game, I will say that for something that's more like in the AA or maybe a much smaller title, it actually has a bit of a charm, and it's actually kind of fun to a certain degree. Even though it may not be perfect or live up to what we're seeing with, trailers for Stalker 2 and all, but still, I definitely like the approach that they did with Chernobylite though. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. The first one has to do with basically the story, and I like the interesting take on the story where basically you play as the character Igor, if I'm saying his name correctly, who's trying to find his long lost love, Natalia. Again, I apologize, I got the names wrong or anything like that. Basically, who went missing following, the infamous Chernobyl disaster back into the 80s. In the meantime, you do have to deal with basically a group known as the NAR, which has basically taken over the site of Chernobyl and all, because it also produced a certain material that sort of popped up after the explosion of Chernobyl and all. So from a storytelling perspective though, it is very interesting, and it is something that adds a little bit of curiosity to the story to a certain extent. So I definitely like that. The next thing that I do want to talk about is basically one of the neat features for the next gen upgrade basically is the fact that the game does offer a performance mode, which I think is certainly a very good thing indeed. Basically before this though, the game basically ran at 30 frames per second, obviously if you're playing it on consoles, compared to what it was in PC, though at the time the PC was in early access before it got to its official release. But in either case though, it's nice that the game does have a 60 frames per second. Yes, it does drop the resolution down a bit, but you know what, if I had to choose between having beautiful graphics or like a good frame rate, I would go with the good frame rate over the beautiful graphics any day. So nice that they have basically a performance mode for the next gen upgrade, especially on the Xbox Series S. And last but not least is the gameplay. And I like some of the ideas that they did with the gameplay in this. It's sort of basically a mixture of gunplay, survival elements, and some survival horror, and some light RPG. Basically, you are scavenging and looking for supplies, and also finding some allies that can help you on your objective and all. Some of it is looking for different things like gas containers or basically chips or even herbs or anything like that. And you basically will need these to craft different things, from materials to weapons or ammunition, to even stuff like maybe lockpicks to unlock doors or anything like that, to basically even creating stuff ranging from food to even stuff that will protect you from the radiation, which there are areas in the game where there's basically areas that are heavily radiation. You're going to need something like maybe like a gas mask or something to help kind of protect you from going into these areas. And no, you also have to make sure that your group is also well fed, and that you are in a a good, make sure that they have a good friendship with them, because you will need them to help you out in terms of certainly upgrading your character and everything like that, which is where some of the light RPG comes in. Every time you sort of craft an item or take down an enemy or find items or complete some of the side quests in the areas that you're in, I would say it's somewhat open world, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a huge open world. You'll receive experience points, and every time you fill up the bar with the experience point, you get certain points that you can use to sort of upgrade your character, like better aiming with your weapon, to basically being able to take down an enemy without damaging your psychic, like basically having an impact on your character, or basically finding ways to improve your storage space so you can be able to carry more items, to be exact. So you do have to so there are some light RPG elements to the game, and that certainly isn't necessarily a bad thing, though. And that certainly, I definitely like how they sort of combine different elements of gameplay for this one. Survival, gunplay, and some light RPGs as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the cons. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of Chernobylite for the Xbox Series X and S. And as I mentioned before, the game's also on the PS5, PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? There are really only 2 cons I ran into based on my time with Chernobylite. The first one has to do with the visuals of the game. Now, I understand that this isn't a AAA style type of a game or anything like that. That's not really that surprising. And the visuals of the game are, they're okay. If I were to compare them to what we've seen footage of Stalker 2 or anything like that, I hate to say this, but Stalker 2 kind of blows it out of the water to a certain degree. Even the Metro series, to be exact, like 2032, Last Light, and Exodus, I think look better than, say, what Chernobylite basically does. It doesn't mean it's a terrible looking game, but it's not going to be anything that's going to, knock your socks off or anything like that. So for me, the visuals are alright. They're not bad, they're not horrible or anything like that, but they're not anything special or anything like that. And last but not least, though, I will say, if there's one criticism about the gunplay I have, is that it is odd to a certain extent, and it's how the developers had the gunplay set up, though. Basically, although the game is played from a first-person perspective, I wouldn't say the gunplay is going to be the same as if you were to play something like, say, Call of Duty or Borderlands, for that matter, or the Outer Worlds, where in a way you can kind of shoot from the hip or anything like that. This one, you really have to, in order for you to use your gun, you have to really aim down very, very carefully with your gun to hit the enemy, though. Although you do have the option for auto aim and everything like that. It's just the way the gunplay is set up is just sort of odd and all. Does it mean that the game is unplayable? I wouldn't go as far as saying that it's unplayable or anything like that. It still functions and works. You can also do, stealth takedowns and all. So it still works and everything like that. It's just, it's not going to be on the same level as, say, some, like the same sense as, say, like, your traditional first-person shooter, like basically, like Wolfenstein or Borderlands or Call of Duty, for that matter. So I wouldn't really go out of my way and say that it's terrible, but it's not as solid as, say, like the games that I mentioned, though. But as I said, it's still playable. It doesn't hinder or hurt the game. It's just not basically as solid as those games, as I said before. Overall, I would say Chernobylite is still a fun game, even if it's in the AA or one of the smaller titles, to be exact. It may not be a AAA type of experience, but it's not a bad game either. At its best, though, the story is very interesting in terms of basically taking place during the whole, taking place around, the Chernobyl set area. To be exact, though, the fact that there is a performance mode is certainly nice, even for the Xbox Series S. And I definitely like how they aimed for a mixture of both the gunplay, some survivor elements, and a certain degree light RPG elements in the game. And that certainly isn't a bad thing or anything like that. At its worst, however, is that the visuals are alright, but anything spectacular. And the way the developers had the gunplay set up is just sort of odd. It's not terrible or awful. It still works. It's nowhere near the level as, say, some of the more solid first-person shooters, as I mentioned, like Wolfenstein, Borderlands, Doom, or Call of Duty, to be exact. But in either case, though, I am enjoying this title, though, and it's certainly a nice title to kind of scratch that Stalker itch, or Stalker 2 itch, while we patiently wait for Stalker 2 whenever that comes out, to be exact. And I definitely like to see some of these, smaller titles here and there, and this one kind of certainly surprised me to a certain extent. So I think it's worth checking out, this Chernobylite and all, but I would get it at a discount price and all. I wouldn't go out of my way and say I would pay full retail price for it, but in either case, I will say I am enjoying Chernobylite and all. Okay, this concludes my video review of Chernobylite. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Chernobylite? Have you tried the game out in any way? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's as good as Stalker 2? Or do you think Stalker 2 is probably going to be better in any way? Do you like the setting in terms of taking place in, near Chernobyl and all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!